Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to design some NFAs and see how they work with some example simulations. So let's take this string A, B, B as an example. And since this string does contain A, B as a substring, the string should be accepted. So we start off at Q0, which is the starting state. And from Q0, we're seeing the first symbol A. And we have these transitions on A from Q0. So there is a transition on Q0, so we put it here, and another transition that goes to Q1. So from Q0 on seeing A, there's a transition, there's one flow that's going to Q0, and there's another flow that's going to Q1. So from Q0, it basically duplicated itself, and one of them stayed on Q0 and one of them went to Q1. And that's after seeing the first symbol. On seeing the second symbol, which is another A, we have to consider transitions from all the states that it reached from Q0. So from Q0, we saw the first A, we went to Q0 and Q1. Now the second symbol is A, we have to consider transitions on A from Q0 and from Q1. So from Q0 on seeing A, it stays on Q0 and another one goes to Q1. And from Q1, we don't have any transition on A, right? So that leads me to a dead end. And we call this the dead configuration. So this flow here basically dies. You see what happens here? Q1, the state Q1 basically means that the assumption that was made when the flow went to Q1 is that it's going to see a B after that, and it goes to Q2, and then it's going to see another B after that and end up being the substring ABB. But after A, if it sees another A instead of a B, it means that the assumption was wrong, that it was a wrong guess. So there's no point of pursuing this flow. That's why this flow here will reach a dead end, and this flow will cease to exist. And I put an X here to just to mark that. So from this one died. From Q0, we have two other states, Q0 and Q1. And then on to the third symbol. We see a B. So from Q0, on seeing B, we stay on Q0. And there's just one transition on B. And from Q1, on seeing B, we go to Q2. See, Q1 means that the last symbol we saw was A. And one of the flows came to Q1 after seeing A. So after it sees a B, it makes a progress towards Q2, which means it saw AB, the first two symbols of the substring ABB. So it moves on to the state Q2. On to the fourth symbol, and you can already guess, right? When we see A, we have to consider a flow from Q0 on A and Q2 on A. Can you guess what's going to happen? So Q2 dies because, of course, coming to Q2 means that it saw A, B, the first two symbols of the substring, and it saw an A. It was expecting to see a B because it was hoping, it guessed, it assumed that it's going to end up being the substring ABB, but it didn't. So the guess was wrong, so this flow just died. And but we left a copy on Q0, right? So that one keeps on flowing, expecting that this may still end up being accepted. So from Q0 on seeing A, we again go to Q0 and Q1. Fifth symbol is B, so from Q0 on seeing B, we stay on Q0. From Q1 on seeing B, we go to Q2. See, again, we saw AB. One of the flows on A waited here on Q0, just in case it didn't end up being A, B, B. And one of the flows went to Q1, hoping to see a B after that. And it did see a B after that, and it went to Q2. And let me just recap this thing. So what's going to happen? From Q2, there's a flow on Q0 and a flow on Q2. It duplicated itself. If the next symbol is A, the flow on Q2 reaches a dead end because there's no transition on A from there. And it just means the pattern was broken. After A, B, I was hoping to see another B, but I didn't. So, wrong guess again. So, it would reach a dead end. This flow will die. But we left a copy on Q0 and that will start flowing again. See how this works? Well, the last symbol, thankfully, is B. So from Q0, it goes to Q0. And from Q2, a very happy transition moves on to Q3 because this time, after seeing AB, we did see a B. And it leads us to the final state, Q3. See, after the simulation is done, the states that we reach, if any of the states is a final state, any one of the states is a final state, that means that it reached this accepting point. That means the string is accepted. Now let's check out an NFA that accepts strings that end with the substring ABB. For this NFA, we don't really care what's at the beginning of the string. So whatever it starts with, we're going to leave a flow at the start state Q0. So Q0 has a loop transition on A, B, both of the symbols. These states, Q1, Q2, and Q3, are structured to remember what's at the end of the string. So whenever it sees an A, it moves, one of the flows moves to Q1, assuming that it's the third last symbol. From Q1, if it sees a B, it assumes that it's the second last symbol and reaches Q2. From Q2, if it sees a B, then it reaches Q3 and accepts. And it assumes that it's the last symbol. But if there's more symbol after that, this flow that reaches Q3 dies. Why does it die though? Because you see, it didn't put any transition on either of the symbols from Q3. So if it reaches here and it was the last symbol, then it's going to end up in Q3. Otherwise, this flow here on Q3 will cease to exist. Why did we keep a loop transition on Q0 though? That's because we have to have a flow in case we're not seeing the end of the string yet. Remember, for DFAs, from Q1, if this wasn't the end of the string, we had to design other transitions from there. Q1, Q2, Q3, from all of these states. But we don't have to do that for NFAs because in those cases, in case this A wasn't the third last symbol and this B wasn't the second last and this B wasn't the last symbol, then we already have a flow that will go on from here. So we're always making two different assumptions. The first one is that this is going to fulfill the condition that we're working with, or this isn't going to do that. So we're gonna draw transitions for all of those cases. It's much easier to see how an NFA works with an example. So let's take this example string here to see how this NFA works. So we start off at the start state Q0, of course, and the first symbol we see is A. So from Q0 on A, we have a transition on Q0, and we have a transition to Q1. And let me explain this again. So when we're seeing an A, this might end up being ABB, and this might be the third last symbol, in which case it will lead to a success. And for that guess, we're having this transition to Q1. Another scenario is that this won't lead to ABB, and even if it does, it may not be the third last symbol. It may not end in ABB. We may see other symbols after that. So this will be a failure. In that case, we're going to have to start over. So for DFAs, we're going to have transitions from Q1, Q2, Q3. But in this case, for NFA, since we're allowed to have multiple transitions on one symbol, we're just going to leave a flow on Q0 just in case this isn't the third last symbol and this isn't going to end up in ABB. So on A, we have a transition on Q0 and a transition on Q1. And the second symbol is A. So we have to consider transitions from all the states that were reached. So we have one flow going from Q0 and one flow going from Q1. So from Q0, see, this is the reason why we left a flow here, because after this A, we saw another A. So this flow was interrupted, the flow that was going on from Q1. So from Q1, we don't have any transition on A, so this flow dies. That just means this pattern was interrupted. This is clearly not ending in ABB because we've seen an A after an A. So this flow dies here, and from Q0, if we see an A, one flow goes to Q0 and one flow goes to Q1, because you see, from Q0, this A we're seeing, the second A, can still end up in ABB, right? If after this A we see two B's and it ends there, then the string should be accepted. That's why one flow moves on towards Q1. And again, if this A does not end up in ABB, we still have a flow going on from Q0, which will take care of it in case it does end up in ABB along the way. Maybe this A won't lead to success, but maybe along the way we will see some other symbols and then some other symbols that will end in ABB. So that's why we left it here, because remember, we're concerned with what's at the end of the string. So we don't care what's at the beginning of the string. So we have to take care of all the beginning symbols. So from Q0 on seeing the second A, one goes to Q0 and one goes to Q1, and from Q1 the pattern was interrupted for the first A. That's why it reached a dead configuration. Then the third symbol is B. So from Q0, one transition is on B. Again, the reason why we left a transition on B on Q0, because it doesn't matter how many B's we see at the beginning of the string, it can still end in ABB. So no matter how many B's we're seeing at the beginning, we have to leave a transition on Q0 just for the possibility that it may still end up in ABB. And from Q1, being at Q1 means that the last symbol was A, right? So this second A got me to Q1 here. And from Q1, I'm seeing a B, so this looks like it's following the pattern. So from Q1 on seeing B, we're moving on to Q2. After that, we see another B. So one flow stays on Q0, and from Q2, we saw another B. That means we saw the substring ABB. So from Q2, we go to Q3. But you see, being at Q3 means that we've seen the substring ABB, but our concern is that whether it's the end of the string or not. And this is where you'll see how it happens. This isn't the end of the string, right? The entire string is AABB, and then we have ABB. Okay, so if this was the end of the string, it ends at Q3 and it accepts. But it wasn't. That's why from Q3, this flow will die, because Q3, this entire flow here from Q0 to Q1 to Q2 to Q3, it assumed that it's ending with ABB. And whenever the assumption is wrong, we kill that flow. So this flow here dies, it reaches a dead configuration. But here's our savior, the flow that we left on Q0, right? Since the flow is, we still have a flow from Q0, this one starts flowing again on A. From Q0, we stay on Q0 just as a savior, that just in case this is not the end of the string and just in case this doesn't end in ABB, we still have a flow going on to C till the end of the string. So we reach Q0, and from Q0 on seeing A, another flow goes to Q1. Why this? Do you see why we have a flow on Q1? Because this A, this flow led me to Q1, right? Because after this A, if we see, we're seeing an ABB, right? So if we see ABB, it will lead me to Q3. But if this A, we saw another A here, then this flow will die because this assumption was wrong. I'm not seeing ABB, I'm seeing AA and then something. Okay, so we saw another B, so Q0, we have one flow is on Q0. From Q1 we go to Q2 because we have seen A, B. And if we see a B after that, which we will, we know that, the NFA doesn't yet, then it will be a success. And we do see another B, so flow is on Q0, and from Q2 on seeing B, we reach Q3, and that was the end of the string. And since it did end up in the state Q3, that means this is the end of the string. It did end with the substring ABB. Just repeating the thing again, the condition for accepting a string is that the last states reached, these are dead configuration. We don't have to look at the dead configurations. So last two states were Q0 and Q3, and one of them is the final state. That means the string is accepted. I'm going to end this video with one last example, and this is a fairly simple one. So this is an NFA that accepts strings that start with the substring ABB. So Q0 is the start state, and you see we don't have any transition on B from Q0, because if it's starting with B, then it's clearly not starting with the substring ABB, so there should be no flow from here. So if it starts with B, it already reaches a dead configuration. If we see an A first, that means we're hopeful. It goes to Q1, and if we see an A after that instead of a B, then this flow will die. Again, a dead configuration. If the string is starting with AA, it's clearly not starting with ABB. If we do see a B after an A, from Q1, that is, so it's from Q0 we move on to Q1, and then on B we move on to Q2, and if we see a B after that, then it's a success. The string does start with ABB, and it will accept no matter what's at the end of the string, right? We're going to keep on accepting. That's why there's this loop transition here on the final state. Nothing different from the DFA, but here's the catch again. From Q2, if instead of seeing a B, if you're seeing A, that means the string is starting with ABA instead of ABB. That's why the flow from Q2 will die again. And that's how this works. This is fairly simpler than the previous two examples. And I want you to try out with strings that will be accepted and will be rejected by this NFA. So just make up some strings and try to simulate this NFA. So that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.